You've reached the end of this module on programming paradigms. Great work. During this module, you explored the core features of functional programming and object-oriented programming. Let's review the module by summarizing the major items you encountered. The various styles of computer languages are known as programming paradigms. Having studied programming paradigms in this module, you should be able to describe functional programming and how it can be used to solve a problem by separating data from functions. Having explored functional programming, you moved on to another popular paradigm, object-oriented programming, often referred to as OOP. You discovered how OOP differs from functional programming, and you studied object-oriented programming principles. In programming, scope determines which parts of the code are accessible and which parts are inaccessible. You learned how the scope of variables changes when you use the keyword var in ES5 JavaScript, and when you use the keywords let and const in ES6 JavaScript. You should now be familiar with how the scope chain works in JavaScript, and you should also now be able to identify how some of the different types of scope work, including global and local. Much of the development work in JavaScript involves building objects. Classes are essentially a blueprint that you can repeatedly use to build new objects. You can also pass parameters to the class methods and then use them the same as with regular functions. Constructors tell JavaScript how you want your objects to be built. You should now be able to utilize constructors on built-in JavaScript objects. And you learned that inheritance exists in JavaScript, and the inheritance model revolves around the prototype. Additionally, you explored how JavaScript code uses modern features like spread, REST, template strings, and modules. You built code that manipulates the DOM and handles events. And finally, you used JSON in JavaScript. That was a lot to cover, but you should now be more familiar with programming paradigms in JavaScript. Great work!